Well, good morning. I am out at one of my little sermon writing hideouts that I have around the area here. Actually, haven't been out here for a while. I don't know why, just hasn't happened. But this morning just felt like a day to be out here, and really appropriate to look at Psalm 32, which is a psalm about forgiveness. To be surrounded by the the stream here and the waters moving by that are a reminder of baptism, about forgiveness, new beginnings, washing away, and so forth. So, Psalm 32. Happy are those whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Happy are those to whom the Lord imputes no iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. While I kept silence, my body wasted away, though my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me, and my strength was dried up as in the heat of summer. And then I acknowledged my sin to you. I did not hide my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Therefore, let all who are faithful offer prayer to you at a time of distress. The rush of mighty waters shall not reach them. You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with glad cries of deliverance. I will instruct you and will teach you the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. Do not be like a horse or a mule without understanding, whose temper must be curbed with a bit and bridle, else it will not stay near you. Many are the torments of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Lord. So be glad in the Lord, and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. Our poem today is written by Martha Spong called Secret, focusing on verse 3. When I kept silence, my body wasted away through my groaning all day long. I know I can't keep it all from you, can't keep a thing even away from your awareness, and yet sometimes I convince myself I can. It's like trying to keep a secret from myself. Years ago, there was a gentleman who helped my wife and I in our first home to refinish our basement. He was a member of the church I was serving at the time, and he was a builder. He was one of those people who could build, fix, do any kind of handy man work. He was just amazing. One day we were working on the basement in our house, and Denny said something about water, about how much water just will always win. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, water is kind of like how God is in our lives. That no matter what we try to do to keep water out of a basement or something like that, water is going to find a way in. And it's this ongoing thing to try to mitigate how water is going to get in. And he said he felt that that's kind of how things are with God in a lot of ways. That there's a lot of times that we want to try to keep things secret from God, kind of like Reverend Spong shares in her poem, that we try to convince ourselves that we can hide these things from God, but yet we can't. And so the joy of forgiveness is not just that we've been forgiven, that our slate is wiped clean, but it's that we don't have to hide our stuff anymore. We don't have to hide the things that we're ashamed of. We don't have to try to put it away or imagine that it doesn't exist, but instead just acknowledge it. Let the light come into those places. Let the water wash over it. Let the forgiveness of God come. Grace and peace be with you this day.